The room went silent when Ibrahim Traoré leaned into the microphone and said, "This message is for Donald Trump." People froze. Reporters dropped their pens. Across the ocean, television screens glowed in American living rooms. His voice was steady but sharp. "This is not just about one man. It is about the world we leave behind." The crowd murmured. Some nodded with hope. Others stared in disbelief. Trump, thousands of miles away, stopped mid-sentence at his dinner table. He set down his fork, hands trembling slightly. The air in the hall grew heavy. The faint buzz of the lights overhead seemed louder than breath. Traoré's eyes scanned the audience. "I know truths that will hurt, but silence is worse than pain." The tension cracked when a woman in the back screamed, "Say it now." Traoré unfolded a paper. His hand shook, not from fear but from the weight of what it carried. A single line at the top made his jaw tighten. Before he could read it aloud, the speaker screeched with static. The sound cut through the room like knives. Then, blackout. What was so dangerous it had to be silenced? Darkness swallowed the hall. Phones lit up, casting ghostly glows across worried faces. Traoré stood firm. "Stay calm," he ordered. His voice echoed like steel in the night. In Washington, Trump watched the blackout on live broadcast. His eyes narrowed. Somebody doesn't want this out. Suddenly, a faint smell of smoke drifted through the air. Panic rippled. People pushed toward the doors. But Traoré raised his hand. "Listen." His tone was urgent. Everyone froze. A faint beeping sound pulsed beneath the chaos. Tick, tick, tick. Security guards rushed forward, pulling apart chairs and tables. Beneath the podium, they found a small black device blinking red. Gasps spread like fire. A bomb. But Traoré did not flinch. He bent down, picked it up, and held it high. His calm unsettled the crowd more than the danger itself. "Fear is their weapon," he said softly, almost to himself. "But courage is ours." With one swift move, he hurled the device through the open window. Seconds later, an explosion rocked the street outside. Glass shattered. The hall shook. People screamed. When the smoke cleared, Traoré was still standing. Trump whispered, "What truth is he carrying that they'd rather kill him for?" The next morning, newspapers across Africa and America carried the same headline. Traoré defies death after message to Trump. Crowds filled streets in Ouagadougou, chanting his name. Some called him a hero. Others feared he had triggered something bigger. In New York, protesters clashed, some praising him, others demanding Trump respond. Inside the White House, Trump slammed his fist on the desk. "I want that letter. Find it before he reads it." But Traoré was already moving. He sat in a dimly lit office, the crumpled paper still in his hand. His eyes traced the words again and again. They were not his own. They were written by someone inside America. The paper smelled faintly of tobacco and sweat. Stains marked the corner, as if it had been grabbed in panic. One line stood out. "The enemy is not across the ocean. The enemy is within your walls." Traoré's breath caught. His face hardened. He picked up the phone. "Connect me to Trump. He must hear this from me directly." But as the call began to ring, a sharp click cut the line. Then a distorted voice whispered through the receiver, "Too late." The voice on the line was cold, mechanical. "Your message will never reach him. Stay silent or more blood will spill." Traoré gripped the receiver. His knuckles turned white. "Who are you?" Only static answered. Then the line went dead. He sat back, heart pounding. The weight of the letter burned in his hand. If true, it meant America itself was crumbling from the inside. Meanwhile, in Washington, Trump's advisors pressed him. "Sir, you must discredit Traoré before his words spread." But Trump hesitated. He wasn't used to doubt, but this time something gnawed at him. That night he couldn't sleep. He stepped onto the White House balcony. The city lights flickered below, but the silence felt heavy. Somewhere far away, another man was reading his name aloud, holding a truth Trump wasn't ready to face. Then, from the shadows of the garden, came a faint crunch of footsteps. Trump spun around. "Who's there?" No answer, just the faint smell of smoke drifting on the breeze. Back in Ouagadougou, Traoré called an emergency meeting. Generals filled the room, their faces tense. One asked, "Captain, what was in that letter?" Traoré hesitated, then placed it on the table. They leaned over, reading the words in silence. Gasps broke out. Some soldiers shouted, "This is impossible. America eating itself from within?" Traoré raised his hand. "If true, it changes everything. The world is not divided between nations. It is divided between truth and lies." Suddenly the doors burst open. A young officer staggered in, his uniform torn, blood on his forehead. "Sir, they tried to intercept me. Men with foreign accents, they wanted this." He handed Traoré a flash drive. The room fell silent. Traoré plugged it into a laptop. A video appeared. Grainy footage. Inside, a voice spoke in English. "We built the myth. We control the game. Trump was only a pawn." The generals recoiled. One whispered, "If the world sees this." Traoré's jaw tightened. Then the world must see it. But before he could move, the screen went black. Words appeared. "Not so fast." In Washington, Trump received a sealed envelope slipped under his door. No name, no seal, just his name scrawled across the front. He opened it slowly. Inside was a photo, grainy, black and white. It showed him years ago, shaking hands with a man in the shadows. A man whose face was blurred out. On the back, one line was written, "Remember who you owe." Trump's stomach dropped. For once, he felt the sting of fear. Meanwhile, in Burkina Faso, Traoré sat in darkness after the video vanished. His soldiers whispered nervously. He stood tall. "They want us afraid, but fear is the chain. We must break it." His words gave the room strength, but his eyes betrayed a quiet worry. That night, he walked alone through the empty streets. Children's laughter echoed faintly from a nearby home. It was a rare moment of peace. Then, from the corner of his eye, he saw movement. 2 men in black watching him. Their faces were hidden, but their message. Trump sat alone in the Oval Office, staring at the blurred photo. His hand shook as he traced the shadowed figure beside him. For years he had buried that meeting, convinced it would never resurface. Now, it had. An aide rushed in. "Sir, the press is demanding answers. What should we tell them?" Trump snapped back, "Tell them nothing." But his voice cracked, betraying unease. Across the ocean, Traoré prepared to address his people again. He knew eyes worldwide were on him. He held the letter in one hand, the flash drive in the other. 2 pieces of truth, both deadly. His advisors pleaded, "Captain, wait. If you speak too soon, they'll strike again." But Traoré only whispered, "Then let them try." At dawn, he stepped out onto the balcony. The smell of smoke still lingered from last night's blast, but the square below was packed with thousands waiting for him. He opened his mouth to speak, when a single shot rang out. The crowd screamed. Traoré staggered, gripping the railing. Chaos erupted. Soldiers fired into the air, chasing shadows across rooftops. People scattered, some crying, others chanting Traoré's name. But the young captain did not fall. The bullet had grazed his arm, blood staining his sleeve. He raised his hand high, voice trembling but strong. "Is this what they fear? A man with words?" The square roared with defiance. For the first time, Traoré's eyes glistened, not with pain, but with pride. Meanwhile, Trump locked himself in a private study. He pored over old files, shredded memos, and hidden recordings. The further he dug, the more his chest tightened. He whispered to himself, "All these years, was I their shield or their target?" Suddenly, a knock at the door. Not staff. Too heavy, too deliberate. Trump froze. Slowly, he opened it, only to find an unmarked box on the floor. Inside, a phone already buzzing. He picked it up. A voice spoke calmly. "You and Traoré will meet. If you refuse, both your nations will burn." The message spread fast. Trump and Traoré must meet. Neither trusted it, but both knew the world was watching. In Burkina Faso, Traoré sat with his wound bandaged. His generals begged him to step back, but he shook his head. "If I hide, they win." The letter and flash drive lay on the desk before him. His hand hovered, torn between revealing everything now, or waiting for the right moment. In Washington, Trump stared at the phone. His pride screamed to reject the demand. Yet deep down, a part of him longed to know the truth behind the blurred figure in that photo. That night, both men received the same text message at the same time. A grainy image, a countdown clock, 12 hours, and below it, a single line. "Meet at the crossroads of the desert and the sea, or the truth dies with you." Traoré leaned back in his chair, whispering. The world buzzed with rumors. Social media screamed, "Traoré and Trump to meet, truth or trap." Flights were grounded. Markets shook. In homes from Ouagadougou to New York, families whispered in fear. Traoré boarded a small plane under heavy guard. His bandaged arm throbbed, but his eyes burned with determination. He clutched the letter, refusing to let it out of his sight. Trump moved quietly too, slipping out of Washington in an unmarked jet. His advisors begged him not to go. He waved them off. "If I don't face this, it will consume me." Hours later, under a burning sun, both men arrived at the meeting point, an abandoned airstrip at the edge of the Sahara. Sand whipped through the air. Engines cooled. Two leaders, once enemies, now stood face to face. Traoré spoke first. "You've been lied to, just like me." Trump's jaw tightened. "Then who's holding the strings?" Before Traoré could answer, the airstrip echoed with the whir of drones. They weren't alone. The drones circled like vultures. Their metallic hum filled the desert sky. Traoré and Trump locked eyes, suspicion flashing between them. Was this the other's trap? Suddenly, loudspeakers crackled. A distorted voice echoed, "Gentlemen, welcome. You are not opponents. You are assets, and assets must obey." Both men scanned the horizon. Dark trucks emerged from the dunes, headlights slicing through the dust. Armed men poured out, faces covered, weapons raised. Trump clenched his fists. "You dragged me here for this circus?" Traoré's reply was cold. "They wanted us to blame each other. Instead, we faced them together." Gunfire split the silence. Bullets sprayed the sand around them. The two leaders dove for cover behind a rusted hangar. Sweat dripped down Traoré's brow. The sand beneath his palms felt hot, gritty. Trump panted beside him, chest heaving. For a moment, Trump's eyes softened. "I thought you were my enemy." Traoré gritted his teeth. "Maybe we're both pawns in a bigger game." The drones lowered, red lights blinking. A countdown appeared on their screens. 6 hours. Inside the hangar, they found crates stacked high, metal cases marked with strange symbols. Traoré pried one open. Inside were weapons unlike anything he had seen. Sleek, black, humming faintly. Trump's face paled. "These aren't from your country, or mine." A projector flickered to life on the wall. The masked figure appeared, voice dripping with control. "You both crave power, but power is given, not taken. You served us well. Now you will serve one last time, or burn with your nations." Traoré's fists clenched. "We will not serve cowards who hide in shadows." The figure laughed. "Bravery is a candle. We are the storm." Suddenly, the crates around them began to beep. Small red lights flashing in unison. The soldiers stormed the hangar, rifles raised. For a split second, Traoré and Trump thought rescue had come. Then one soldier fired, straight at Trump. Traoré reacted instantly, slamming into him, knocking him behind a crate. The bullet cracked through the air, splintering wood. Trump gasped, staring at the young captain who had just saved his life. Traoré's voice was firm. Now you know who the real enemy is. But betrayal cut deeper. The soldiers were not his own. They wore forged uniforms, their faces hidden by masks. The masked figure's voice thundered from the projector. See, even your armies are ours. Gunfire erupted. Sparks rained down from the ceiling as bullets shredded the metal walls. Trump grabbed a weapon from a crate. I don't care who sent these, I won't go down easy. Traoré stood back to back with him, firing into the shadows. For the first time, they fought not against each other, but as one. Still, the explosives beeped louder. The red lights blinked faster, and the countdown showed 3 hours left. The gunfire slowed. Smoke filled the hangar. Shadows moved cautiously between the crates. Traoré crouched low, blood seeping from his wounded arm. Trump pressed against a steel wall, sweat streaking his face. Then, through the smoke, one of the attackers pulled off his mask. It wasn't a stranger. It was a former U.S. official, someone Trump had trusted years ago. His voice was steady. We built you both, and now we'll erase you both. Trump's stomach twisted. His own past had been weaponized against him. Traoré shouted, "You are traitors to the world, not to us." The man smirked. Words won't stop the storm. Suddenly, the projector flared again. The masked figure leaned closer on the screen. The choice is simple. Destroy each other now, or be destroyed together later. 3 hours. Decide. The screen went dark. Trump's voice cracked with fury. They played me all along. Traoré's jaw tightened. Then let's end their game. But just as hope flickered, the crates around them shifted, revealing something hidden. A second layer of weapons, and these were already armed. The hum of the armed weapons filled the hangar, vibrating through the steel floor. Trump and Traoré exchanged a look. Fear, anger, and something more. Resolve. From outside, the drones drew closer, their red lights cutting through the smoke like eyes. Then the masked figure's voice returned, calm and cruel. Your unity is useless. You are symbols of division. If you join hands, we erase you both. If you fight, one survives. Traoré's voice thundered back. You think division is power, but fear dies when men stand together. The figure laughed coldly. Then let us test that. Suddenly the hangar doors slammed shut. Steel bars locked into place. The countdown above the drones blinked. 1 hour, 59 minutes. Sirens wailed across both Ouagadougou and Washington at the same time. The explosion tore through the wall, smoke swallowing the hangar. Out of the dust stepped a lone figure, an old general. Traoré's chest tightened. He recognized him instantly. Once a Burkinabe ally, now thought dead. Trump froze too. He had seen the man in Washington years earlier whispering advice in corridors of power. The general's voice was cold. You were never leaders. You were pawns. And I was the hand moving the board. The masked figure on the screen leaned closer. Then, he pulled off his mask. It was the same man, alive in 2 places. Trump's face paled. Impossible. The general smiled. Not impossible. Recorded. Cloned. Multiplied. I am many. That is why you can't win. Traoré shouted over the echoing hum of drones. You fear the people's will. That is why you hide in masks. The general smirked. The people don't matter. Only gunfire thundered. Sparks rained down like burning stars. Traoré ducked behind a crate, shouting over the chaos. We must cut the power. The drones need it. Trump, grim but resolute, sprinted toward the main panel. Bullets slammed around him. He dove, tearing open wires with his bare hands. Sparks seared his palms. He screamed, but he didn't stop. The general's voice mocked, echoing. Look at you, bleeding, burning, heroes in your own minds, but powerless. Traoré charged forward, engaging the general hand to hand. Blows cracked through the smoky air. Dust and blood smeared the floor. For a moment it seemed Traoré would fall, until Trump ripped out the final wire. The hangar plunged into darkness. The drones powered down with a metallic sigh. The beeping stopped. The countdown froze at 00112. The silence was deafening. Then the general snarled, pulling a hidden blade. "If the machines fail, I'll finish this myself." Trump, panting, lifted a pipe as a weapon. "Not if we finish you first." The blade slashed. The pipe swung. The final struggle shook the hangar floor. Traoré struck last, disarming the general, pinning him down. The man's mask cracked, revealing a trembling face beneath all the power. Trump, gasping, stared. "All this, just to control us?" The general's voice faltered. "Fear always rules." Traoré stood tall. His words cut the silence. "No. Fear rules only when men forget courage. Today, the world remembers." He released the general, not as weakness, but as defiance. Cameras hidden in the drones, still recording, broadcast every word across the globe. Millions watching saw not division, not hatred, but two rivals standing together against control. The sirens outside faded. The people cheered in streets from Ouagadougou to Washington. Trump looked at Traoré, exhausted. "Strange allies, huh?" Traoré answered with quiet steel. "Not allies, not enemies. Just men who chose truth over fear." The general was dragged away in chains. The drones lay silent, their power gone. And in that stillness,